All right, media, your next element of film are sound effects. Sound is important to a film because it adds authenticity, it can add an emotional component to a film, it makes it just more realistic. There are two different types of sound effects creation. One is called effects design, and this is the creative manipulation or molding of sound. Often, effects design is used with the Foley technique, but this is where sounds are changed around on a computer. Now, manipulation could be maybe slowing a sound effect down or speeding it up. That changes how it sounds. It could be changing the frequency or the pitch of the sound effect, or it could be mixing it with another sound to create a brand new sound. The second technique is called Foley technique, and this one is thought to be more authentic or organic because this is where a sound effects engineer just honestly goes into the field to collect live recordings of sound. So if I have a film that takes place in a city, I might just grab my microphone and my boom and record that live sound happening in the city. Similarly, maybe I need a specific animal recorded. Well, I could go to a zoo and get some type of recording of that animal. As I said, these two techniques are often used in tandem. Our sound effects engineers will record live sound, upload them to the computer, and then manipulate to get the sound that they want there. On our schedule, I've posted 3 YouTube videos. I want you to watch at least one. You're welcome to watch all 3 that needed some creative sound effects engineering. A Quiet Place is a film about, well, a quiet place where you will be attacked by an alien if you make any noise. And because we have a creature like an alien that could be any sound we want, for A Quiet Place, the sound effects engineers had to be really creative in how they made these sounds. I think my favorite is the part where they decide to taser a group of grapes, and that's one of the sound effects for the aliens. How people come up with this stuff, I don't know. Jurassic Park was interesting in terms of sound because, of course, a dinosaur's vocal cords wouldn't have survived like the fossils would. So even though we know what the dinosaurs may have looked like, we don't know how they sounded. So the sound effects engineers in Jurassic Park had to gather animal sounds that we have, like a swan and a rattlesnake, and then combine them or layer them over each other to get that sound effect. One of my favorite sound effects in Jurassic Park is when a Tyrannosaurus Rex is actually reaching down to eat a Gallimimus and he shakes him around. It's actually the director's dog playing with a rope toy that he recorded and then manipulated on the computer. Transformers has won many Academy Awards for creative sound editing and mixing. Obviously, they have some really great machinery sounds. They use weaponry and plane engines and explosives to get some of those sound effects. And in this Transformers clip that I've included, they actually use dry ice on metal, and it gives a really interesting resonating sound that is meant to mimic a ship's hull that's crashing into a planet. So feel free to watch 1 or 2 or all 3 of those sound effects videos that I've listed. There are 2 different types of sound effects in film, synchronous and asynchronous. Hopefully you remember the definition of these words from our unit on CMC. Synchronous just means at the same time, and asynchronous means at a different time. So if I have synchronous sounds, that means I can hear a sound, and essentially I can see the source of that sound on the screen. So imagine I have a farm scene. Well, of course, some of the synchronous sounds that I could hear would be a moo for a cow or a cock-a-doodle-doo for a chicken. Can you tell that I'm sad we're not together in class doing these sound effects? I could have any type of farm animal. Maybe I would hear the rumbling of a truck or a tractor. I might be able to hear the breeze and see the wind, the waves of grain blowing in the wind. Those would all be synchronous sounds. Asynchronous is an off-screen source, so I can hear it, but I can't see what's making that sound, and this often helps us to transition from one scene to the next. So imagine I can see a farm scene on the screen, but I hear the traffic of a city. Well, this is cueing me as an audience member that we're moving on to a new scene because I know this sound doesn't match with this scene. I've also included a link to a clip from the third Harry Potter film that has many synchronous sounds and at least one asynchronous sound. I want you to watch that clip and count as many synchronous sounds as you can, and also try to find that one asynchronous sound that transitions us from one scene to the next. In the synchronous sounds, you should be able to hear it, and see it on screen. Asynchronous, you'll hear it, but you won't be able to see much of what's going on the screen until we transition. So when we're considering sound, you'll want to think about how the technique or which technique is used to capture that sound. Is it Foley technique and live and natural, or is it effects design that's manipulated and mixing those sounds together? And how the director has chosen to use synchronous and asynchronous sounds to move the plot of the story along and make the film more realistic and authentic.